Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
Nick fucking Cage. Hi, everybody.
Nick fucking Cage.
Nick fucking Cage. My name is David Bell.
My name isn't. It's Tom Ryman.
And we just watched The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we sure did.
We sure did, Dave.
We sure diddly did.
We sure did.
We got another offer. It's $1 million. It's to attend a wealthy gentleman's birthday party.
I would never do that.
It's the easiest gig ever. You play yourself.
What do we know about this guy anyway? Is he into something strange?
It's not like he's gonna want you to suck his dick or fuck his wife or watch you watch him fuck his wife.
I wouldn't think so.
Welcome to Mallorca, Mr. Cage.
The guy that owns this house, what's his name?
Javi.
Is Javi gonna want me to,
I am Javi.
Nick Cage.
Tom, I was going to mention this before. Sorry, I don't mean to talk about other films. I also just watched We're All Going to the World's Fair, Tom.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and my quick review is don't expect it to be, if you want like a really horror movie, it's not that, but I actually found the movie fascinating, and maybe at some point we can talk about it.
Okay.
And the lead actress was terrific. Terrific.
I've read interesting things about it, but that's not what we're talking about today, Dave.
No, we're talking about
we're talking about Nick Cage the movie.
Nick Cage the movie. This is, of course, everybody knows.
Yeah.
It's been getting great reviews. It's like I just looked up who made it, and it's some guy. It's just some guy.
It's usually who's responsible.
Yeah, he worked on a show called Ghosted, which I never saw, but hasn't really. This is like his second film as a writer.
Okay.
And his second film as a director. And I don't know, that's impressive to me. Like, he really, I don't know. He must have reached out.
It's a big, it's a big swing. Yeah. It's a big swing for your second film, but it just, it must have just really spoken to Nick Cage.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have a theory is that this probably had a lot of Nick Cage input, right? And it's probably, it might have been a Being John Malkovich situation where they like got him a script, but I feel like this is a script only Nicolas Cage could like approve of. You know what I mean? Like it feels like maybe it's a project he wanted to do, and then they found people to do it.
Not from what I've read in interviews with him.
Wait, what?
Not from what I've read in interviews with him.
No shit.
Yeah,
well,
like this project was conceived without his input.
Interesting.
And of course, I don't know how much. I don't know. I'm sure he had some input once he got brought on board. But no, he was not the catalyst that got this movie created.
That's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Well, how did you like this movie?
I liked it. I thought it was fun. And it's pretty silly, Dave. It's pretty dang silly.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this movie.
Yeah,
I do have one issue with it.
Sure.
Which is the beginning premise of Nicolas Cage being like a has-been. I do not accept that premise. And that's the stuff where I'm like, did they write that and then they give it to Nicolas Cage? I know it's movie rules, where a protagonist needs to be in a place of,
Yeah, he's got to like have an arc and learn something.
Exactly. So I get it. I get it. Yeah, this is a really fun movie that you probably seen the whole movie in the trailer.
Just about. They don't show much of the third act in the trailer.
They don't.
Like it's all the goofies. They don't show. This made me feel a little bit like adaptation.
I was about to say this isn't the first Nicolas Cage movie that is like this.
Yeah.
This is a very meta movie.
Yeah. And then Act 3 becomes like a self-aware action sequence that then, it ends kind of like Get Shorty, where we're in like the real life standoff that then gives way into the movie version of the standoff that is produced sometime later.
Right.
I don't know where I was going. I don't remember what my point was with that. I'm just throwing that out. That it's very meta.
Very meta.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't, like I said, we both liked this movie. I don't have like too many critiques. In fact, I would say that I have zero critiques. There are certain things that I'm like, I feel like I could have done without, which one being, I don't know if I needed the meta stuff. I didn't hate it. But so if people are wondering if they haven't watched it, so you know from the trailers, Nicolas Cage is like washed up. What they don't tell you, which was a delight, is that he is also seeing the young version of himself.
Yes.
A de-aged Nicolas Cage.
Whom he calls Nicky.
Who is representing his, I would say, ego.
Yeah.
He is the one who's kind of saying to him, like, what are you doing, man? You know, like, you're a superstar. Why are you taking this crap? They never shit on any of his movies, and I appreciate that. I would call this movie a celebration of movies in general.
Yeah, there's actually a lot of interesting ideas in the movie, or just thoughtful ideas, I suppose I'll say, because it's mostly about the fact that he's washed up or not washed up is sort of immaterial to the story they're telling.
Yeah.
It's just supposed to be. I think that was more of a plot device to give him a reason to accept this weird invitation to go to Javi's compound in Mallorca for his birthday party. Like, that's normally something nobody would do unless you're in like the Tanya Harding stratosphere of celebrity, you know what I mean? Where it's like,
yeah, I would actually argue that celebrities do shit like this all the time.
That's true. They do. That's true. You're absolutely right. Yeah.
It's kind of the way of like when you go to Japan, there's like commercials with like Stallone in it that are like these huge ads, and you're like, what the fuck did this come from? And it's like, yeah, like it's that idea that celebrities take jobs all the time that we're not aware of.
It's not that specifically, because that's still like kind of like a legitimate job. There, you can look. I'm forgetting which actors have done it, but there's been a few like actors and musicians and other performers in the entertainment industry that have shown up at like Saudi princes' birthday parties.
Exactly.
Like there's
where it's like
literally that is a real thing.
If you're so rich that you can pay an actor what they would normally get for a role.
Yeah, to come hang out at a party for one night. Yeah, I'd probably do it too, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think any actor is. I mean, there might be some who like hate the principle of it, but I think a lot of actors are like, yeah, fuck it, man. You know, and yeah, if you're rich, you can you can do whatever you want.
Yeah, those things usually don't carry a whole lot of publicity, so you really kind of have to look for it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're 100% right. I feel like that's the only reason that plot elements in the movie, though, because it doesn't really. It's more about a guy who is at a sort of turning point in his career where he has to sort of decide whether he's going to keep trying to be Nicolas Cage, the movie star, or if he's going to settle more into what seems to actually nourish his like creativity and his soul,
right,
which is to just make movies because he likes making movies and to make like movies that are interesting to him. And then there's also the element of him not being an attentive husband and father because he's so focused on his career.
Right. And that is the main arc. Yeah. The movie has to, it's obviously not autobiographical, so it has to do a few things. It has to make us believe that Nicolas Cage is washed up. It has to make us believe that that this offer that Pedro Pascal gives to him is demeaning. When I imagine it's actually I guess $1 million for a weekend. I don't know what Nicolas Cage's rates are. Maybe that's below his
low.
Rates.
It seems low.
It does seem low.
Yeah,
but
I imagine the people who do this get like a lot of money sent to like their favorite charity, and probably get like a nice little chartered jet trip. I imagine they probably throw a little bit at people to get them to take these but like $1 million for a weekend with Nicolas Cage does seem a little low.
Yeah,
it's like,
it does.
Nick, I feel like you can do better than that.
Yeah. So yeah, it's about they do like the inciting incident is basically he's trying out for a movie directed by David Gordon Green.
David Gordon Green, yeah, that was really funny.
Yeah, and it was very funny. They have a whole bit where he's trying to do a Boston accent. Nicolas Cage isn't against making fun of himself.
Yeah, and it's such like the read he does for David Gordon Green is such a Boondock Saints piece of dialogue.
Yeah.
Like it's so early aughts indie crime thriller film. So it's like you immediately get a picture of the kind of movie that this probably is.
Yeah, they're having a lot of fun making fun of everything of Hollywood,
but not real. But you touched on it earlier when they said they don't shit on any of his movies, and and at one point he even has the line where he's like, "Never shit on yourself." Like he tells that to himself.
Yeah, and it's about how great movies are.
Yeah, they poke fun at the industry, but they never really shit on it.
Well, I'd say what it is it's like a roast.
Yeah,
in the sense that it's like. And it's not wrong. Movies are silly.
Yeah, movies are silly.
Movies are silly. They've never not been silly. And so it's about that idea of Nicolas Cage taking itself very seriously, but also like a celebration of films. And like when Pedro Pascal, when they, it's in the trailer, where it's like, what's your top 3 favorite movies? Pedro Pascal answers,
Face Off.
Face Off.
The Cabinet of Dr.
Caligari, yeah, right, because that's a plot point. And then Paddington
2.
And then Nicolas Cage is like, come on, really? And he's like, have you seen it? And he's like, no. And they cut to them seeing it. And he's crying. And he's like, that's a really good fucking film. And like, it's that idea of like, they do it a few times where it's like, what makes... And it's kind of the basis of Nicolas Cage's career.
Yes.
Is like, what people love is not necessarily the most amazing films. It's just what people love. They have that part where... the two agents are talking to each other, and he's like, "I love Con Air," and she's like, "I like The Croods."
It's like, I haven't seen The Croods. I'm 44 years old.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's that idea of like Nicolas Cage. One of the most powerful things about him as an actor is he really does like have the entire spectrum covered, where it's like any version of art house film to the lowest common denominator, he's got you covered.
And I think the other thing the movie is saying, because it's like the basis of his connection with Javi, and it's a version of it is the basis of his relationship with his daughter, which is a thing he needs to adjust, because his arc there is that he's kind of showing her all of the stuff he likes, and he's not really getting. So kind of what the movie is saying is not, the movie is saying that movies are silly, but it's also saying that they're not. They're also like very important to people.
Exactly.
Like they mean a lot of things to people, a lot of really deep things, and it's like a lot. It's like an emotional shorthand for people's relationships, and how people interact and connect with each other is through different pieces of art that spoke to them in the same way.
Right. And that's, again, why Nicolas Cage is perfect for this, because he embodies that, which is like films. We love them. What kind of film? Any kind.
That Captain Corelli's mandolin line.
Oh, yeah.
When he asked her, like, how did you meet? His wife is played by Sharon Horgan, which is great. I didn't realize she was in this movie, so that was a nice surprise. But he asks Nick Cage, he's like, where'd you meet? Oh, she was my makeup artist. Oh, which film? Yeah. Captain Corelli's Mandolin. Yeah. Oh, it's a great film. Yeah, I think so. Underrated.
Yeah. Yeah, again, they never... he certainly doesn't talk about all of his films.
No.
But whenever they bring up a film, they bring up they bring up Mandy.
It's like the perfect film that they bring up. Like they bring up the reason Javi wants him to come to his birthday that weekend is because when he was taking care of his dying father in the hospital, he and his father bonded over guarding Tess. They pick the perfect, like, obscure... They pick the perfect kind of obscure for these movies, which is really funny.
Again, and that's the point. It's like... Yeah, I know exactly what they're talking about. It's like everybody has someone they know who is into like some fucking movie that you're like, nobody else likes that.
Yeah,
thing.
You never know what movie is going to connect with people.
Yeah, and so it is definitely Nicolas Cage patting himself on the back in that regard, but not in a way that's like obnoxious or even direct. It's just and it's more of like, again, he's just the perfect model for something
Right, 'cause
that
the
is
movie-
universal to movies.
The movie doesn't treat it with like pure reverence. Like it knows it's kind of silly to
Again,
have a
that's-
guy
yeah.
be emotional about guarding Tess, regardless of how you feel about guarding Tess. I love that movie, but so it's not like, I just wanted to make it clear, like the movie's not like, oh, all of Nicolas Cage's movies are great, and anyone that thought any of these were bad is these movies are underrated. That's not the tone. It's just
it's a celebration, but it's a roast,
and
in
it's
a way, too.
so they never let go of that absurdity. Like it's still absurd that this guy is saying how much guarding Tess meant to him.
Right, but then he also performs the shit out of it. Pedro Pascal, of course, nearly stealing the show.
I think that's what's important and what saves not saves the movie, because the movie's pretty good throughout, but what keeps the movie from becoming too mean-spirited or too much of fan service, or not fan service, too worshipful of Nicolas Cage,
Right.
is like Pedro Pascal and his performance, and like a lot of the performances of some of the other secondary characters that talk about movies in the film, is because they're so sweetly earnest about it.
Right. And again, it's because it recognizes how absurd the movies are.
Yeah.
It never turns, I would say it's never mean-spirited. It's not cruel towards fans. It never treats the idea of fandom as like stupid. It doesn't even have a chance to, really, but it doesn't make Nicolas Cage look like an amazing actor. Like, that's part of the point, is it's making fun of how serious actors can be, but it's also not, again, shitting on it. Because it's balancing that idea of like, actors are really full of themselves. They have these ridiculous egos. Movies are ridiculous, but like, regardless of all that, they mean a lot to people. And that's the balance that they're making.
Yeah.
And I think it works really well.
Yeah, it does, which is admirable, because that is not an easy tone to maintain.
No, not at all. And like, Nicolas Cage is perfect for that.
Yeah.
And so, he goes to Pedro. Well, so he gets, David Gordon Green goes with someone else.
Yeah.
Decides to go with someone else.
The idea, this might be my only note with the film, the notion that David Gordon Green would turn down Nicolas Cage.
Well, it's contradictory, because he clearly didn't, because he's in this movie.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's for sure.
It's like, oh, I'm sorry, was Nick Cage not good enough to be in the third Halloween movie?
Yeah, come on, man.
Is Nick Cage isn't good enough for your highness?
Yeah, so it becomes this
Nick
moment.
Cage stinking up Adventureland. Oh wait, that's not David. Oh wait, it is David Gordon Green.
Is it?
I think so. Anyway,
I've only seen all those movies once.
I'll have to check my work on that. Sorry, folks, if I got that wrong.
Right. I guess technically the movie that he'd be auditioning for is the next Exorcist film.
Oh,
or
yeah.
Hellraiser. Because that's what he's doing next. But yeah, he doesn't get the role, so basically that's what turns him to say, all right, fuck it. I'm going to take this $1 million and I'm going to quit acting.
Well, he misses the role, and he kind of embarrasses himself and his daughter a little bit at his daughter's birthday, and his ex-wife has that real frank discussion with him, like, look, you need to cut this shit out and pay attention to your daughter before she's an adult, before it's too late. So he's like, I gotta quit so I can focus on my family. So it's like twofold. Like, he feels like the universe is telling him it's time to hang it up and be a family man.
Right, which is weird because he's also like ridiculously in debt.
Yeah.
So I guess the idea is he does this one job, pays off his debt, and I don't know, works at Best Buy. Like, realistically, look, it's fine. It's a comedy. Mm-hmm. Realistically, he would just do more like direct to DVD shit.
Yeah.
To sustain his family. But yeah, he's essentially, they do this thing where he's a shitty father. He's divorced. He makes everything about himself. Mm-hmm. Like, it's a lot of Nicolas Cage making himself seem like kind of, they do a good job where he just seems like, kind of an asshole, like not a great father.
Not intentionally. It's that he's self-absorbed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he's got this ego that keeps visiting him.
Yeah, so I think that was
kissing him on the mouth.
Yeah, that he makes out with young Nick Cage.
So
it's great.
fucking good. Good.
I did think that was a good way to do it, to present his relationship with his family, because very often it can be a little hyperbolic or heavy-handed or something. So I appreciated that it was something as simple as, no, he's just so self-involved that he's not aware that he's sort of hurting everyone's feelings, and so all he ultimately really needs to do is be more self-aware. So it's not like this huge hurdle. I appreciated that it's not a huge hurdle, but it's also like something that's vitally important that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, here's what I'll say is I think this movie is very safe in how it handles the character of Nicolas Cage.
Oh yeah,
and I think that is okay because we're not trying to do something at its core, this is a buddy comedy.
Yeah,
at its core, and so all of this stuff we're talking about is like really fun dressing for the actual adventure, which is just him and Pedro Pascal taking acid and going on an adventure.
Holy shit.
The acid scene is glorious.
Scene. There's when they're first driving after they've dropped the acid.
Yeah.
Pedro Pascal gets this look on his face. He says something to Nick Cage and he turns back to the road because he's driving, and he has this look on his face that made me laugh out loud in the theater by myself for 5 seconds, 10 seconds.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite acid scenes.
It's so good.
Yeah. So one of the very smart things they do is they never show what it's like to be on acid. They never try to do visuals or anything. It's purely watching two people on acid when you yourself, the audience, is not on acid.
Yeah, it's just exhausting.
It's just them. Yeah. And they get super paranoid about somebody, two guys, and they try to run from them. They crash their car. It's very delightful. The idea is he's on this. So he as in the trailer, he gets picked up by the CIA, who tells him this guy kidnapped the daughter of the president, not our president, forget which country, and is holding her hostage. Spain. Holding her hostage so that he can drop out. Oh, no, the candidate. So he can drop out of the election is the idea. Mm-hmm. And the plot they don't really talk about in the trailer is that the other plot is that Pedro Pascal has a script he wants Nicolas Cage to read, and Nicolas Cage is told by the CIA, you have to stay there longer. We have to find out what happened. They do a really good job at, it's a really good reason to keep him there, where they're basically this girl is the same age as your daughter. How would you feel? And it's enough to be okay, yeah, he's motivated to do this. And so he says to Pedro Pascal, I want to stay some more, and me and you, we should write a script together. So that's where the meta aspect comes into play, is they start writing a script together. And of course it's oh, what if we write about us, our adventures? And so it very much becomes an adaptation, because what happens is the CIA is you should suggest a kidnapping plot, and then that will,
and then
motivate him.
And then that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what happens. So we're watching the film that they wrote, basically.
Yeah. Yes.
And so the reveal that's not in the trailer is that Pedro Pascal is not in fact the kidnapper. It's his cousin. Which I was wondering how they were going to handle this, because obviously he wasn't going to be the bad guy. Did you at any point think, because they do this thing at the beginning where he pretends that he's being chased to get Nicolas Cage to play along and improv with him?
Yeah.
Did you for a second think that he was going to get the gamed?
No.
I did briefly, and then I realized that there were scenes with the CIA without Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And I was okay.
And there's a scene with Javi and his cousin a little bit later too, where his cousin,
I had already dismissed it at that point. But I had that would have been, because the whole time I'm wondering what's the out gonna be, because Javi is not gonna be bad, but they basically just say, oh no, yeah, he's not bad, he's been propped up by his cousin to be the crime boss, and that's why he gets taken care of, is he's getting paid essentially to be the face, and so he's actually being bossed around by his cousin.
He's the patsy.
Yeah, he's the patsy. So He also flies in Nicolas Cage's family.
Yep.
So it becomes a situation where their daughter gets kidnapped, and Nicolas Cage has to use the power of acting.
Yeah, he does.
To save his daughter.
God.
It's one of those moments where it's like, fucking of course they do that.
Yeah, of course he's got to use the power of acting.
Yeah, because this like Italian mob boss is coming in, and they don't know what he looks like.
It's
as
the
you
plot
mentioned,
of Team America.
It is, as you mentioned, the wife was a makeup artist, so
She
it's like,
sure was, dude.
Yeah. So he sneaks in doing a ridiculous character.
Yeah, he's doing basically he's doing Jared Leto in House of Gucci.
Yes,
Basically, he's playing an aged Italian crime boss that nobody has seen in 15 years.
I don't even know if they knew they were commenting on that the aspect of acting these days, but they absolutely do, and it's so good.
It's very funny. Yeah.
Yeah, they do the Jared Leto, or I guess Colin Farrell, like just covered in bullshit, doing this ridiculous voice, and they all fall for it. And of course, again, this is another point where they're lampooning acting, because it's like it's obviously him. Like one of the things they choose to do in this movie, which is unfair, but it works for the movie, is the character of Nicolas Cage. They never show him being a great actor.
No, they show him being Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, and it's so every time he's acting, it's him doing something ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, he sneaks his way in. They save the daughter. It becomes a full-blown action movie. I love when he like grabs the bad guy, and the bad guy's like, fuck, it's Nicolas Cage. Like,
yeah, he's like, he's upset with himself that he got tricked by Nicolas Cage.
And then at that point, it's a delight that the actor throughout the rest is like, fucking Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
What a delight. So it becomes
yeah.
the action film that it says it's going to be. It becomes a car chase.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes this whole ridiculous situation where like Javi stays behind briefly, which was kind of useless, but it was fine.
It bought him a little bit of time. It was just them paying off
he's standing up.
We're writing the movie that is then going to happen, because there's that bit they show in the trailer where they're trying to climb over the wall, and Javi's like, "Leave me, I'll buy you time." And that's just
he does that again. Yeah, they pay off a few things. They pay off that he's in love with the other lady, and which is the conversation they have
when he drives. They drive out to the bluffs, and they both think that they're about to Fredo Corleone the other.
Yeah.
Like, it's one of the funniest scenes.
It's so good.
Like, they're both so sad. Yeah, they trade shoes.
So one of the key and you can tell from the trailer, one of I would say the thing that's like holding up this movie is the relationship of Pedro Pascal and Nicolas Cage, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's just, they're like two little kids that are just having so much fun playing pretend with each other.
Yeah, they're having the best sleepover weekend, and they don't want it to end.
Exactly.
It's basically what it is.
Yeah, they become best pals, and it doesn't take long for that relationship to like be convincing,
Yeah.
They do enough that by that point where they both have to kill each other, that it's sad. They're so sad. And it's this moment they pull up to the cliffs where they both think they're going to kill the other, and he's like, "Those are nice shoes," and he's like, "I don't really like them," and he's like, "I think they look good on you," and they trade the shoes, and they're like, "You want to trade shoes permanently?" And they're so happy and so sad about it at the same time.
It's
And then they both point guns at each other. He has his golden guns. They don't want to kill each other, which is in the trailer.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I wish they didn't put in the trailer. I mean, obviously that's the way it was going to go, but
yeah.
And so
you know what, we pointed it out already, but I will give this trailer credit. Is it keeps a lot of the plot out of it, which you mentioned, it doesn't mention a thing about the fact that they're writing a movie. It doesn't really show you any of the action stuff at the end.
And one of the meta things also is they talk about like, we should do the kidnapping stuff for like the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
We need scenes for the trailer, and it's during a scene where that's in the trailer.
Yes.
Yeah, which is delightful. A lot of meta bullshit.
There's so much good stuff in it.
It is. It's a solid, like, I'm not going to go through all the jokes, but there's just some solid fucking jokes in this.
I will say it's
There's some good.
apart from
sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say it's not like a movie that really made me laugh out loud too much. Obviously I just mentioned a part that did, but there's
a few.
Yeah, it's mostly just a movie that's real silly from start to finish. So I was more like smiling the whole time than I was like really actively like laughing.
I laughed more than I thought I would because I did not expect to laugh much during this. I thought it was going to be real broad comedy appeal. And it is, but it's the performances that are great. Like there's moments like when he does that audition for David Gordon Green. Didn't make me laugh. What made me laugh is then he's in the car after and he's got this big proud smile.
Yeah, he's like,
stoked. I did it.
Yeah, he's like, I just rocked his world.
Yeah, it's those moments that they really nail. And there was some dialogue shit. What's her name? The CIA.
Tiffany Haddish.
Tiffany Haddish, I thought, did a great job.
Yeah,
like the part where she just screams into the phone and has a moment, and she's like, "Oh, that was way too loud."
That was really loud.
Yeah, there's little moments like that seem like they could have been improvs that are just like, "Oh, that was funny." Like it felt in terms of a comedy, they weren't trying to be Judd Apatow. They weren't trying, like, it felt very scripted. It wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't busting my gut, but like you said, I was smiling the whole time because it's so endearing as a comedy. That's like it's like it's sort of it just charged me and I was into it. And so I was willing to follow it in a lot of places, like the bit where they're climbing over the wall. Yeah. That's like a pretty old bit where it's like, oh, just go around, like, oh, there's a door, whatever. That's an extremely old bit, but to see Nicolas Cage and Pedro Pascal do it. Yeah. And they're two really good actors having so much fun with it. It's like, oh, I love this. Yeah. I'm having so much fun. That's really what it is to me is like the jokes weren't particularly original. Nope. In some places, but it didn't really matter because it was a joy.
Yeah. It was just, like you said, the performances are so like everybody's in it just completely with it. And so like you can take even a joke that's, a little hackneyed as, oh, you just go around the wall, but they're just both in it like 100%.
Yeah, they're doing so well
really
with it.
Making it work. So yeah, it's just the fucking vibe of the movie, for lack of a better word, is just so fun.
It's the performances. Like I would say if this was made by people who weren't fully into it, it would have been a big problem, even with the same script. Yeah. Like, I think part of it is that they are all just giving it their all. And Nicolas Cage is doing great. Pedro Pascal is doing great. Fucking Doogie Howser's there. He's doing good. Yeah. He's not in it that much. But
no, he's only in like 3 scenes, but...
Yeah. It's that weird balance where people are playing themselves and then Neil Patrick Harris has to play not Neil Patrick Harris. And you feel bad. You're like, oh, come on. Like,
well, he got to do that in a bunch of
Patrick Harris.
He got to do it in a bunch of Harold and Kumar movies.
That's true. He's owed it. Demi Moore is in here.
Yes, she sure is.
She plays the fictional version of Nicolas Cage's wife. Because basically what happens is it's a big car chase. He crashes into the embassy. And then it hard cuts to the movie version of what's happening. So like suddenly he's still Nicolas Cage, but his family is played by famous people. Yeah. Did you expect Michael Bay to show up? Because I was like, where's Michael Bay? Because they make it look like a Michael Bay movie at the end.
It kind of ends like Bad Boys 2. He crashes into the American embassy in Spain and they have like a standoff where the bad guy is holding a gun to his head.
Right. So it just feels like it could have easily been.
I wasn't expecting Michael Bay.
No. I actually figured there'd be more people, like celebrities, showing up in this because it felt like such a celebration. I wonder if it's sort of the situation where like they made a lot of offers and they didn't get much back.
Maybe. I imagine it's a smaller budget, so they can't really like accommodate too many people's schedules.
That's true.
Because they gotta kind of get it made. So you're not gonna have like a gold member situation where like fucking everyone in Hollywood was in that movie,
right?
In 2002.
Oh yeah, where everybody wanted to be in gold member.
Yep.
Oh Christ. Who is the guy CIA agent? I recognize his
Baron
face.
Holtz.
That's a really familiar name.
He's from Mad TV. He's in the first Suicide Squad. He's in The Hunt. You've seen him and stuff.
Yeah, I have. I have seen him and stuff. Sure. Honestly,
Jeff ran into him at a farmer's market a couple of weeks ago and had a whole conversation with him, like, "Oh, hey, good to see you again," and then realized later that he's never actually met Ike Barinholtz.
That's very funny.
Oh, right.
He just felt like in his heart that he did.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I feel like I know you. So, like, just you have that conversation with somebody.
Yeah,
and then like later he just realized, oh, I've never met him. I just knew him from being Ike Barinholtz.
He's apparently in Batman: The Audio Adventures.
Sure.
As Two-Face.
Yeah, that seems like a thing he'd do.
You guys are going to have to, cover that, right? It's a podcast
That's an interesting question, actually. Well, we can't watch it unless we're...
Jeffrey Wright plays Batman.
I know, yeah.
This is blowing my mind.
It's pretty cool, yeah. I don't know if we'll cover it, though, because, it's watch Batman, not listen to Batman.
All right, that's fair. John Leguizamo is the Riddler.
See, now you're talking. Now we're just doing
Brent
ads.
Spiner.
We're just doing ads for other media right now, Dave.
Brent Spiner's the Joker.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
The data Joker.
Sorry. I'm sorry. That just, I didn't know that existed. Yeah, and so at the end they don't like dwell on like he's back. Mm-hmm. They don't really do that. They do like standing ovation. They're showing the movie, and then it's that they mostly focus on Javi is like, oh, you got to stay behind. We got to do interviews. And he's like, no, I'm going to go hang out with my family. And so the end is basically him enjoying his family.
Yeah.
And watching Paddington 2.
It's showing that he can do both of those. Like he can still do the things that like nourish his spirit and creativity and also be present for his family. Like he can do both things.
And it's all still around movies because the whole thing with him and his daughter is you want to watch the movies you want to watch. Exactly. You never want to watch the movies I want to watch. So it's about the idea that we all connect through movies. Movies connect us. Mm-hmm. And like what symbolizes his selfishness is being like, you have to watch this movie. Oh, I can't believe you don't like this movie or haven't seen this movie. Oh, I really like the Humphrey Bogart.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like she thought Humphrey Bogart was a porn star. Oh, that is a little disappointing. Although I guess it could work, like Humphrey.
Yeah. Humphrey, right? Yeah, that's the other thing about this movie. Everybody gets to do fun stuff. Yeah. Everybody gets jokes. Like it feels very devoid of ego, despite being a movie about Nicolas Cage's career with Nicolas Cage as himself and being called The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Yeah, like it's tongue in cheek.
It is, but they could have very easily still made it so about him. Like the point of the movie is that it's not about him.
Yes.
Not everything is about him. And they do that. They could have easily still had that point and not given everybody things to do,
Yeah.
And it feels like Nicolas Cage didn't need to be like the funniest person in the room. You know what I mean? Like everybody kind of bounces off of everybody. It's very much treated just like a ensemble comedy.
Yeah.
Like it never felt like when they go to save the, like his wife is there, like she's doing bits. They give her a moment where she like bluffs out the bad guy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's a very self-aware movie. It really is impressive, I think. Because I'm not going to it's not my favorite damn movie in the world, but it was a really hard line to walk. Mm-hmm. Like, I think I said it on Hypecast and someone else, whatever our guest was, agreed, which was like, this has potential to be a disaster.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's a difficult idea to pull off.
It really is. And there was like a version of this film that would have been exhausting and like overly meta. And they avoid that and they create a pretty delightful film.
Yeah.
I feel like we're talking too much. Do you have any other thoughts?
I'm trying to think of if I have anything else to add. Other than just I think it, kind of speaks to the sort of actor Nicolas Cage is. Like, obviously he has an ego. But he's also clearly just like a working actor. Like,
yeah, he also knows that he's funny.
Yeah.
Like he knows that him buying himself a tomb with a pyramid in Florida or wherever is funny,
Yeah, or that it struck people as he understands why people responded to it the way that they did. I actually
Yeah.
read an interview. He's been doing a lot of one of the great things about a new Nick Cage movie is you get a whole new press cycle about Nick Cage. So he's been doing lots of new interviews. And he talked about that, and he was saying, well, look, you know, and it kind of made sense the way he talked about it. He was like, well, I think his dad had just died. So he was like, well, I was thinking a lot about death, and I just wanted to, it was like obviously not a fun thing to have to go through. So he was like, I just wanted to make sure all of my arrangements were taken care of so that when I go, nobody has to worry about anything. It's all taken care of.
Oh, yeah. No, people do that all the time.
Yeah. But of course, you also realize it's funny that he has a pyramid in New Orleans.
Right. At the same time, like, I haven't heard about a single purchase from Nicolas Cage that isn't something I would also purchase.
Right. It's all awesome.
Yeah. They make fun of that in this, where he's like, I'll give you $20,000 for it.
Yeah. After Javi tells him it cost him $6,000.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yes. I'll give you $20,000 for it.
Yeah. Oh,
but
shit.
All I was going to say is the reason I bring that up, pointing out the kind of actor that Nick Cage is, where he seems to be more game to like play with his image and make fun of himself, and he doesn't have to be the star all the time. You could never make this movie with a person like Steven Seagal.
No, you couldn't. Again, he couldn't be more perfect for this movie.
Yeah.
Because he's a good actor, and like I don't know much about him as a human being, but like to make a movie like this, it says something about yourself that is like that he does sort of have a healthy sense of self-awareness.
Yeah.
Which of course the movie's about how he doesn't.
Yeah.
But you absolutely couldn't make. I mean, I want to see an attempt, but you couldn't make a Steven Seagal version of this.
He would easily kill everyone in Majorca. Like it would be the worst. I do want to see it, but it would also be the worst film, one of the worst movies ever made.
Yeah. And it's I don't know, it's a very good movie. Like I said, I reject the premise that he was, like they say it, he was never gone when they keep saying Nicolas Cage is back. And I agree with that. Also low key, I think my favorite joke of this whole movie, nothing to do with meta or anything. It's simply when they rescue his daughter and they get her in the car and they go, oh, do you need like an apple or something?
Yeah, he's trying to feed her.
Yeah, which is every time my parents pick me up, they do that. Yeah. They say, okay, we got water for you. We got you a bagel. It's such a parent joke where it's like rescuing the kidnapped daughter in the car in a car chase, and they're like, "Hey, do you need water or anything? You got
some apples. Tommy's got some apples up here." He's like starts rattling off different kinds of apples that are in the Jeep.
Yeah, that's such a good gag. And again, that's kind of a strength of this movie is that it's not all gags about Nicolas Cage.
No, there's that was one of the things. I'm glad you brought that up because I did want to mention that there's actually not as many as you'd expect.
No, it's more just a comedy, a buddy comedy. Like you could technically make a movie like this where you do a fictional actor.
Yeah.
Who has to do this. It's better that it's Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
But like most of the jokes don't rest on the fact
it didn't have to be Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about the knockout hand thing.
Oh my god. That whole sequence was so good.
Right. We don't even I don't want to explain jokes,
we won't.
but
we'll just leave that.
There's a very good physical comedy scene.
Yeah. He puts knockout powder on his hand. Extrapolate from there.
Yeah. And again, it's not a completely new joke, but it's just like they do it and they do it very well.
Yep. And it's fun to see Nick Cage do that joke.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. This is the type of movie right now that I think there's like, if you like Nicolas Cage, if you like comedies, there's no reason not to see this. It's almost entirely just a delight.
Yeah.
It's just fun. It's not my favorite movie. It's not the best movie in the world. It's just surely we'll see it again several more times.
Oh yeah.
It's just a solid comedy that was really fun.
Yeah. It's just a fun movie to watch. Real breezy, real light.
Real breezy. It went by so fast.
Yeah, it did.
Like when it ended, I was like, wait, that's it?
That's it?
And I looked it up and it's like, oh, it's an hour 50, but it didn't feel that way.
It felt a little bit shorter, but I think those run times add in all the credits too, but
That's fair. So yeah, like, we saw two movies back to back. We saw The Northman and we saw this. two very different films.
Yeah, honestly, what's crazy about this year is I don't need to see any other movies. I'm like, I'm all set after seeing those two. But there's like so much more that's coming out.
We keep saying it. This is a great fucking year for movies.
Awesome year for movies. The movies are back, Dave.
Yeah, the movies are back. Not that they went anywhere. Yeah. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. I think we can be done.
All right. Hey, folks, thanks for listening. Real quick, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/gamefully unemployed. If you go on there, there's exclusive podcasts. For just $5 a month, you get access to Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Fox Mulder's a Maniac, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and Spiel Boys. We do custom We Just Watched episodes. That's something you can look at. For a bit more, you can also just watch movies with us every Friday night. That's a thing that we do almost every Friday night. I think next Friday is a little up in the air because we're both going to be on
vacay this week.
Yeah, so this is actually, yeah.
Oh,
this is just the last one we're recording before going on vacation.
Yeah, so no Hypecast this week. And there probably won't be a new We Just Watched next Monday, but we are doing Doctor Strange. We'll probably do it the following week.
Yeah, which I'm fine with.
Yeah, it's fine.
So yeah, we will do Doctor Strange. We just won't do it immediately. And yeah, Friday night, movie night, it might be up in the air. But anyway, go on our Patreon, check out all that stuff, because there's a bunch of exclusive podcasts that will be coming out regularly. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, Tom, you got to send me the new Batman early.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit of business. A little peek behind the curtain, you guys.
Yeah, you guys get to hear how the bat sausage is made. We also have a store.
Yeah, I'm going to bring my... Oh, listen, Tom.
Shut the fuck up, Dave.
I'm going to bring my laptop anyway, so like it's not the end of the world if you don't.
All right, well, I'm trying to tell them about the store, if you mind.
Okay,
zip in your little soup coolers.
All right.
We have a store. Head over to GameFullyUnemployed.com. You can find a link to our Teespring store, where we have all kinds of cool original artwork and designs you can get on t-shirts, mugs, stickers, posters, all kinds of things. Check that out.
Tom, I never cool my soup.
No, you're a daredevil.
Time.
You're a daredevil. Yeah. You're the evil Knievel of eating soup.
Yep. Yeah.
Fucking plunge your face into hot soup bowls all the time.
Mm-hmm. All the time. My face and mouth are a nightmare.
You look like a catcher's mitt. It's incredible.
Yeah.